What's up, party animals? Manny Lore here with another Study Minute presented by Fantasy Cruncher. As always, I got 3 topics to start off the week. First, your 2 millionaires. In week 1, Headchopper and Topcorner. That's Fanduel and Draftkings, respectively. I'll have some tallies for you coming up. Topic number 2, how do you approach week 2 when there was so much quote-unquote randomness, right? We saw huge games from the most unlikeliest sources. I'll tell you what we should do with those guys in week 2. And topic number 3, week 2 contests are already out, right? The Millionaires out. We have, I think, the $4, the $100, and the payout structures look pretty okay. I'll dive into that, and I'll do a lot more on the Study Minute, baby. Let's go. So 2 millionaires were crowned on Sunday, week 1. Headchopper being the Fanduel millionaire, Topcorner being the DraftKings millionaire, and man, were these really, really close. It came down to the wire. I'm talking less than a point, right? Less than a point on DraftKings, and on Fanduel, also less than a point. So combined, I less than 2 points. Like, I don't know. It was unreal. It was down to the wire, and crazy because if you followed along, you saw that both first place guys did not have Austin Eckler, right? It was the weirdest thing. We did not see Austin Eckler, and I'll start off with Topcorner first. We did not see Austin Eckler in his top lineup, right? His lineup consisted of Lamar Jackson, Chris Carson, Christian McCaffrey, Odell Beckham, who surprisingly was the only guy under 20. Yes, that includes the defense. Marquise Brown, Deshaun Jackson, Evan Ingram, Dalvin Cook, and the Niners, right? So he did get some Niners luck there at the end of the slate, right? What he faded, though, was Vinsanity right behind him. And I'm still talking about Topcorner on DraftKings. Vinsanity behind him, who lost by 0.20, I don't know, less than half a point, right? So Topcorner scored 281.36. Vinsanity scored 281.1. Vinsanity, had Austin Eckler. If you saw how that game ended, that ended with Eckler getting into the end zone to ice the game in overtime. And that was his rushing touchdown. Also lucky that Eckler couldn't get 4 more yards to get the 100-yard bonus through the air. I mean, you're talking about such a small difference in the game could make the world of a difference for some of these guys, right? That little difference was from 1 million to 200,000. That's very familiar. Feels bad. On FanDuel, it was Headchopper. Similar story. Lamar Jackson, Dalvin Cook, Le'Veon Bell. Speaking of Le'Veon Bell, touchdown and 2-point conversion from him. Deshaun Jackson, Sammy Watkins, Chris Godwin on what was, a garbage touchdown? My goodness. Mark Andrews, Christian McCaffrey, and the New York Jets. If you have the balls to play Lamar Jackson to Mark Andrews on week 1, and it works, jeez, brother, you probably deserve to win that million. Anyway, the guy behind him, Dayton Muscle, had Austin Eckler in his flex. It was a wild, wild Sunday when it came down to the wire, right? And you look at it this way, less than a point separating both millionaire makers. Headchopper takes the FanDuel, and Topcorner takes the DraftKings one. Congratulations to both guys. To Chop, wow, impressive. Been in the industry for a really, really long time. Finally takes down the Millie. Kudos to both players and all of you who did well in week 1. A lot of randomness. If you got by all those 150-yard games that we saw in week 1, my goodness. I say if you saw green yesterday, forget anything else. That was a positive. A lot of people hurting after yesterday. Some sharks did well, though. So it wasn't a bad night for all. Quote-unquote chalk, didn't work out too hot, but If you didn't follow it too heavily, I think you did okay. Topic number 2, how are we going to approach week 2 after what we saw, right? So what we saw now was Marquise Brown running all over the Dolphins. By the way, if you don't know, week 2, the Dolphins face the New England Patriots and Antonio Brown. My goodness. Anyway, what are we going to do with guys like John Ross, right? What are we going to do with Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, whatever you want to call him? What are we going to do with Deshaun Jackson, right? Like all these speedsters that went off and all of a sudden are on people's radars. Here's what I'm going to do, at least, right? I think upping the Baltimore pass game might be a stretch. I mean, if there's anyone that can prove me wrong, it could be Lamar Jackson, but I'm not ready to say he's a good passer by any means. It's just Miami was awful. John Ross, is he really what we saw finally? I think he might be, but still not to the point where I'm projecting him for a significant amount of fantasy points, right? It was just one game. For me, it's calm down. Deshaun Jackson, I do not think he's going to get 150 and 2 TDs every single game. That's just not possible. Some guys, I think their performances looked sustainable, right? We know CMC is going to have a bajillion touches. We know Evan Ingram as a tight end should do very, very well this season, considering their situation and what they've said about their new offense. There's some guys you can say yes, definitively, right? For me, Hollywood Brown probably isn't that guy. And John Ross is suspect, even though I like him a little bit more. I also think all those guys regress in week 2. By default, you have to, right? For me, it's careful when starting to make groups and stacks and whatever and get an early look at slates, because these guys are going to have you head scratching for sure. 150s and 2 TDs. Those guys, I'm sorry, I'm probably not going to bite the bullet in week 2. I'm going to make lineups the same way I made them in week 1. And if, again, they go for 150, my goodness, I'll start looking into changing some guys' default projections or whatever. But as of right now, not putting stock in that Baltimore game and all these speedsters that are starting to go off. I'm going to just keep my cool for a little bit. It's only week 1, and I'm not going to force them in pools or stacks or whatever if they weren't already starting from week 1. So I'll take a wait-and-see approach, my advice to you guys. Topic number 3, and the last one to start off the week. The lobby is already populated on DraftKings, right? We already have some lobbies. Let's do this. The Fantasy Millionaire. I always start with this one because it gives me a good indication of how the lobbies look so far for a given week, right? So week 2 we have on the board and pretty healthy still, right? The Millionaire, 4.5 million guaranteed. 22% to the top 10. Still think that's a stretch, but again, you have to make it a milli. And then top 10, 31%, right? Sorry, 22% to first place. Top 10 is 31%. Min cash will continue to be 1.5x. That won't change. And it pays out about 22% of the field with 15% rake. Your standard milli maker, once again. I love playing this. A few little tweaks. It's no longer 200K to second. That has already dropped down to 150K. So if you're judging to see what second and third and fourth or whatever looks like, it did drop down just a slight bit, but I still think it's okay for a millionaire maker to where by week 5, 6, 7, it might be 30% to first, 45% in the top 10. That's when it starts getting really tough to play. But as of right now, I think we still got another week, maybe 2, of some decent payout structures for the milli, right? A lot of you, I feel, and we have some stuff for Sunday, right? The Wildcat, the 333, the big money tournament. If you have money to play this is the one I would advise, but this is for high rollers, man. Hashtag how rich, all of them are in here. 5,000 entries, pretty standard. First place 16.5%, top 10 40. So although I don't like the top 10 being 40, maybe 30 to 35 would have been better. But either way, it's guys that can afford this tournament are going to risk this much money. So I think this is okay. It pays out 21% of the field, 1.5 min cash, just like the Millie Maker. And this is raked at 10%, so 5% better than the Millionaire Maker. I think so far what I've seen, healthy across the board. It's probably going to get a tiny bit smaller this week, but I still think there's enough great tournaments that will start coming out throughout the week. I can't check out low stakes, so it's hard for me to say. As of right now, I have the 333 and the Millionaire Maker. I think both of them still, relative to what we're going to see later on in the season, look pretty darn healthy, and we should be in line for a pretty big week 2 as well. So if you had fun week 1, if you made, can't go broke making a profit, you saw some green, I think we're good to go for week 2. And so far, the tournaments look pretty okay. Thank you guys for listening. This one will go on YouTube, so if you're watching, thank you for watching. I'd love it if you can rate, like, and subscribe on your podcast platform. If you're on YouTube, whatever you want. If you want to leave a comment or whatever the case is, awesome. Stream was insane on Sunday. Out of this world. Stream start up again today. If you want to wake up early and you're listening to this early, I will also be on Osimo's channel starting at 11. So I can work with Laffy, get some strategy stuff for you guys, all you Osimo subscribers. If not, my Twitch stream at 12 p.m. Eastern every single weekday. If not, if you can't make it at anything, I'd love it if you can join me again tomorrow. And until then, catch you guys then.